because I'm going to hand the baton off. So, yeah. I don't know, probably ask if she do it. I'll call this meeting to order on Monday, September 16th. I want to welcome everyone. Very glad to have with us tonight Pastor Carolyn Vinson from the, I hope she's here. There she is, from the High Point Christian Tabernacle at 3269 Old Concord Road. If you'll please come forward, she's going to give us our invocation and also lead us in the pledge to the flag. So would everyone please rise?
Let each issue be addressed with purpose, wisdom, and clarity of thought. Give each speaker and each representative vision and insight as to their decision making. We ask that you bless Mayor Bacon as he leads this great city. Let him know that his many years of labor and his many accomplishments will not go unrewarded. Bless each elected official as they continue to serve this great city. Let the city of Smyrna continue to be a beacon of light, not only in the state of Georgia, but in these United States. Finally, we pray the peace of God over this city. Shield the city of Smyrna from violence, divisiveness, and discord. Let us continue to live together in love, harmony, and peace. In Christ Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. And for those folks that don't know about the High Point Christian Tabernacle, they're located on Old Concord Road between Concord and Church. They've been there for a number of years. We thank you so much for what you give back to our community. Item 2 is agenda changes. We have got item 4A, public hearing. That will be tabled, at the request of the applicant, that will be tabled till October the 7th. Item 8F, under the consent agenda, that item will be withdrawn, or has been withdrawn. Those are the two, I believe, that are the only changes. Under the mayoral report, we have we got a proclamation and we've got a recognition of the Smyrna Arts Council. And I told them at a meeting prior to this I would do them first. Recognition of the Smyrna Arts Council and local artists for the inaugural City Hall art exhibit. That's under Mr. Fennell's. You want to take that, Ron?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for all the artists who have contributed over the years through all aspects of what you do in your expression, whether it's oils, different types of paints, whether it's sculpture, whether it's dance, it's music, it's composition. Thank you for all you do to make ours a richer community. And I have the distinct honor of just recognizing the Smyrna Arts Council and all of the artists that we're displaying this month in City Hall's chambers and throughout the building. We thank you for your work and thank you for making it available. I understand there's an event. Who wants to speak on behalf of the group for just a moment and just welcome the city to what you guys are doing?
Hello, I'm Nancy McGee, and I'm the Vice President of the Arts Council. I would like to be sure that you all know who our president is. Joan Stewart, would you stand up, please? So that's who you need to go to. So I worked with a number of people to get this art show organized and hung, and one of the most important parts of this was not only the mayor and council for allowing this, but also I want to be sure that everyone knows how helpful Maxwell Ruppersberg was. He was the go-to person for the council coming to City Hall to get questions answered and work done, et cetera. And also I'd like to be sure that you know that Sonia Engel, who is one of the artists, also helped to hang the art once we got the hanging system up and so forth. So she was instrumental in making it attractive and well-placed. So thank you very much for that. And Leah Barnes, who is on our board, took care of all of our communications regarding social media, et cetera, and I want to be sure that she's recognized. The artists that I'd like to introduce you to, I'll ask you each to just come up here, I believe in behind the gate.
That's fine.
Behind the fence,
Yeah.
and then we'll do a
Rail.
Right, thank you, yeah. You know, your vocabulary leaves at a certain point in your life.
Yeah.
I'm having that issue more and more. Okay, so, and I think these are in alpha order. So Howard Campbell, who is, he's the abstract artist that you may have seen in the hallway. Howard is from the Atlanta area. Helen Dubonnet, Joan Friedman, Jack Gould, yeah, I just have to say, Jack is our youngest member. He's in the 8th grade. Julie Gudger, Sonia Engel, Shelley Lighthizer, Colt Miley, who is from Columbus, Georgia, Melinda Rushing, Marcia Hamby Savage, Charlie Stannard, and Suzanne Taunton. And so the photographer, I'm sure, will arrange you accordingly. I also want to be sure that anyone listening at home knows that this exhibit will be up through October. There are information sheets about the artists, and anyone interested in purchasing any art from any individual artist may contact them directly. So we appreciate, we meaning all of the board, all of the Smyrna Arts Council board, and all of our members and patrons, so much your participation. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And while y'all are arranging, if you haven't seen the art, it's amazing. So when you come to pay your water bill or your taxes, take a deep breath and walk down the hall and forgive us for taxing you. But they are very talented, and there's some tall people, and thank y'all very much for all you do for our community, and I hope this will be the beginning of an annual thing. We do this all the time, so Y'all take credit cards, Master Visa, American Express? Thank y'all very much. Thank you, Joan. Thank you, Nancy.
Excuse me, Mayor.
Yes.
I would like to suspend the rules and add an item to the agenda.
Well, let's do this. I'm going to go ahead and do the recognition of the proclamation, and then we'll do that right after this.
Okay.
2019-259 is proclamation in recognition of Constitutional Week, September 17th through the 23rd, 2019, Fielding Lewis Chapter, National Society of Daughters of the American Revolution. We do this every year, and we love doing it. I'm going to ask Councilman Corky Wells to read that proclamation, and if y'all want to come on up now, then he's going to deliver it to you, okay?
You're getting me all out of order now, so. I'm going to read the proclamation, and I'm going to tell you just a little bit about the National Society of the Daughters of the American Revolution. A proclamation by the Mayor of the City of Smyrna, Constitution Week 2019. Whereas the Constitution of the United States, the guardian of our liberties, embodies the principles of limited government in a republic dedicated to the rule by law, and whereas September 17, 2019 marks the 232nd anniversary of the framing of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and whereas it is fitting and proper to accord officials recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary, and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate it. And whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America designating September 17th through 23rd as Constitution Week. Now, therefore, I, A. Max Bacon, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the City of Smyrna in the state of Georgia, do hereby proclaim the week of September 17th through the 23rd as Constitutional Week, and ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals that the framers of the Constitution had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through the guardian of our liberties. In witness whereof, I have hereto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Smyrna to be affixed upon this the 16th day of September in the year of our Lord 2019, A. Max Bacon. Now, whereas with us this evening are members of the Fielding Lewis chapter of the NSDAR. The chapter carries the name of George Washington's brother-in-law, Fielding Lewis. The National Society, Daughters of the American Revolution, is an organization of women who can prove direct lineage, descent from a patriot who served or aided the American Revolution. The organization was founded in 1890 for the purpose of promoting historic preservation, education, and patriotism. Any woman 18 years or older who can prove lineal bloodline descendant from an ancestor who aided in achieving American independence is eligible to join the DAR. She must provide documentation for each statement of birth, marriage, and death, as well as of the Revolutionary War service of her patriot ancestor. Each member has a primary patriot who is the ancestor that joined DAR with, but many members also have multiple patriots in their family lines. For perspective on how far back it goes, these ancestors generally come from the fourth around the sixth great-grandparents, generally male, but there are also female patriots. Patriots, also known as revolutionaries, continentals, and rebels, were those colonists of the 13th colony who rejected British rule during the American Revolution. With me this evening, I have, and Jennifer, do you want to introduce these, or would you like someone else like to introduce everyone while I bring this down?
Thank you so much. I'm Ann Amy. I'm the chapter regent, and I'll let each of the ladies step up and say who they are. My patriot is Thomas McWilliams from Maryland.
I'm Linda Lopez. I'm the vice regent of our chapter, and my patriot is Wiggins Killebrew from North Carolina.
My name is Tricia Powers. I am the now past regent of our chapter. I also serve as state membership chair. My patriot is Captain Thomas Lee from North Carolina.
My name is Emily Hewitt. I'm the co-chairperson for Constitution Week, and my patriot is John Brown, and he's from Georgia.
My name is Vicki Hoffman. I am the Yankee in the room. My patriot is, I have Daniel Ogden Jr. and Daniel Ogden Sr. from Pennsylvania and New York. I've proven 5 thus far. I'm working on my 6th. I am currently the state Good Citizen Chair.
And I'm Jennifer Bennett. My primary patriot was a private. He was one of Francis Marianne's men in South Carolina. His name was Jesse George.
And I just want to thank you all for coming out and for supporting such a worthy cause with this. And with it, I'll present a proclamation. Do we have somebody to take a photo for y'all?
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate your time and taking the time to recognize this important document.
Thank y'all very much. Thank you. Okay, I'll turn it back over to Ms. Blackburn.
Thank you,
before we
Mayor.
get into the land issues.
At this time, I would like to make a motion to add an item to formal business, which is a motion to override the mayor's veto 2019-286, which deals with the street closure for the Hispanic Heritage Celebration.
Second.
Okay. All right, so you're making a motion to add an item to the agenda. Okay, got a motion and a second to add an item to the agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion? That dies 2 yea and 5 nay, so that item will not be added to the agenda. Item 4 is land issue, zonings, and annexation. A is a public hearing, 2019-318. Zoning request Z19-014, modifications of the site plan for 130-unit townhome development at Riverview Landing, 22.57 acres, land lot 171-172 Riverview Road. The Ardent Company, LLC. The applicant has requested this item be tabled until October the 7th, 2019 agenda. I'll ask Mr. Fennell just to make a quick motion, and we'll table that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's my honor to continue to foster this project until its completion, and at the request of the applicant, I move to table 2019-318 to October 7th.
Got a motion and a second to table till October the 7th. All those in favor of the motion? It's approved 7-0. Item B on land issues, zonings, and annexation, 2019-268. It's a public hearing approval of subdivision plat for 2 lots with a lot width variance for each lot, 0.87 acres, land lot 489 at 2646 Hughes Street, Fairbanks Construction Services. Is the applicant here? Okay, Ms. Jones, will you please give the background, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. The applicant is requesting approval to divide an existing lot into 2 residential lots at 2646 Hughes Street. The subject property is currently comprised of 1 lot of record fronting on Hughes Street. The lot is occupied by a single-family home that will be demolished. The applicant, wishes to revert to the 2-lot configuration to build a single-family home on each lot. Planning and Zoning Board approved the proposed lot plat with variance by a vote of 5-0. Community Development recommends approval of the requested reconfiguration and replatting of 2646 Hughes Street. And Rusty Martin, our Community Development Director, is here to give you more information.
The applicant's here. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here that would like to make any public comment concerning this, either for or against the issue of this approval of subdivision plat? For those that want to make a comment, I'd like to get everybody sworn in all at one time. If you'll step forward along with the applicant, anybody that, even if you just think you want to make a comment and you end up not wanting to make a comment, I still want to get you sworn in all at the same time. Okay? If y'all have a seat, this is in Ms. Blackburn's district, and I'm sure she'll want Mr. Rusty Martin to give the background. Ms. Blackburn.
Thank you, Mayor. Rusty, would you please share
you.
with us the information? Thank you.
All right. As Ms. Sadler-Jones stated, this is a plat approval. So this goes through the process of approval from P&Z and mayor and council. This does not come with a zoning change, which is a change in zoning district to allow different uses. This property is going to remain R15. It's going to meet all the R15 standards except for the lot width, and that's due to the lot being platted in 1936 originally. So I'll go through this PowerPoint presentation and I'll show you what I'm talking about. This request was recommended for approval by P&Z by a vote of 5-0. This property is located along the western side of Hughes Street, pretty much at the intersection of Hill Street. As you can see in the zoning vicinity map, the properties to the north, east, and south are all zoned R15. The properties to the west are zoned RDA. And the property is approximately 8/10 of an acre, almost 9/10 of an acre. He is proposing to tear down the existing house and subdivide the property into 2 lots and build 2 new single-family homes. The zoning for the property is going to remain R15. This is the proposed plan for development. He's going to subdivide the property straight down the middle. He is going to maintain the R15 zoning standards and setback standards, which is a front setback of 35 feet, a side setback of 10, and a rear of 30. These are the same setback standards that are applied to all the lots on the west side of Hughes Street and on the east side of Hughes Street. So there is no change with respect to the setbacks for this development. As I stated earlier, there's one variance, and that's to reduce the lot width from 85 feet to 75 feet. And that's purely due to this parcel being subdivided, or these 2 parcels being subdivided in 1936 prior to the implementation of our zoning ordinance in 1974. So the requirements of the zoning ordinance in 1974 weren't even thought of when this was subdivided. So he is just trying to bring these 2 lots in line with the rest of the lots down the street. This is the original plat from 1936. The 2 parcels that he's proposing to develop on are highlighted in blue up there. And as you can see on the east side of the parcel along Hughes Street, those are all the call-outs for the lot widths. So you can see the lots up and down Hughes Street. Some of them are consolidated into one, and some of them are the original lots. And for the most part, the original lot sizes were 78 feet. This is a picture of the subject property. And then some adjacent properties to give you some context. Community Development has reviewed the request to plat the property into 2 lots. We reviewed it against the R15 zoning district standards and looked at the variance, and we're recommending approval of the request. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Mr. Moore? Thank you, Rusty. Hey, if the applicant will step forward, please. Mr. Powell.
I have a computer. I just don't know if I can get it turned on. So you may have to help me. Sorry. We're going to see if my notes can come up here.
Okay.
I'm not used to using a computer. All right, here we go. This is only going to take about 45 minutes, so.
We'll be gone. Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Just playing, sorry. First of all, I'm going to skip to my second thing. I need to disclose that I'm the Planning and Zoning Commission Chairman. During the Planning and Zoning meeting, I recused myself from the application in the hearing and in no way contributed to their approval of this application. I do want to take a moment to thank my daughter and one of my office staff, Alejandra, that did an excellent job presenting in my stead. It was not a gimmick. My 10-year-old heard me talking to my wife about not being able to present at my own hearing that I preside over, and she went to her room and wrote her own presentation and brought it down to me. And one of the last lines she said in her presentation to me on my patio that night was, and I know he can do it because my daddy doesn't build houses, he builds homes. I'm very proud of my daughter. I just got to tell you that. Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you for your service to our community and the opportunity to present my application. First, I'd like to publicly thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your leadership, your friendship, and your love of Smyrna. Your vision and dedication transformed the downtown and created a tremendous opportunity for people like me that live, work, and play in Smyrna. I'm going to quote one of my kids, thank you for being the best mayor ever. All right. Obviously, I'm a little partial to Mr. Bacon, and that's fair to say because like the mayor, I too have grown up here. I spent the entirety of my life in this town, and I am thrilled to do what I do every day in an effort to make this the best community ever. Got to be honest with you, I think Money Magazine had it wrong. There's not one town on that list that I'd put in front of this town. And it's because the guy's sitting in the middle of the room. I met a couple, not met a couple, there's a couple from down the street here. I live right behind City Hall, and we were walking up to Taste of Smyrna on Saturday, and I was walking up to get some food for me and my wife, and bumped into them, and I was talking to them, and they were like, do you think it's that big of an impact, the mayor not running again? And they said, what did he really do? They hadn't been here long. They have no idea. And the coolest part about it is I'm standing right over here on Bank Street, right at the Veterans Memorial, and I just went, this is what he did. This is his legacy. And no more compliments. I won't pack it in for that, right?
If you want this thing to go through, you need to.
I need to shut up. I know. I got you. So we're here today requesting approval to revert this parcel to its original plat of 2 lots. The current lots 7 and 8 are a combined width of 154 feet. If this parcel were to be subdivided into 3 lots, it would be approximately 14,500 square feet each. To be clear, that's not what we're proposing today. We're proposing to take this back to the original plat of 2 lots. I do want to take a moment to tell you a little bit more about me. I lost my place. I want to take a moment to tell you about my background and explain what the zoning and future plan for this parcel could create, how the city requirements are easily satisfied as 3 lots on this on the subject parcel, and why I believe this application is the best option for this lot. Over the last 20 years, I have worked in our community renovating and building homes. During the last decade, I've presided over more than 100 zoning hearings and witnessed developers and builders enter our community time and again to carve up our parcels into small lots. As a result of Smyrna's success and their success, they continue to repeat the process of taking advantage of precedents long since established by our zoning ordinances and future land use plan to increase the density of our neighborhoods and satisfy the growing popularity of our town. The over-densifying of our properties creates a short-term spike in land values, but results in the trajectory of those land values as they create an artificial ceiling for home prices in the long term. The habitual carving of our land into smaller and even smaller parcels is something that I try to take this out, but I truly do detest it more than anything in construction. There's a better way to do it, and I understand that we had a time and a place in this community where it wasn't a desirable place to live. And much through his efforts and the council's efforts that have preceded you guys and the stuff that you are continuing to do today, we encouraged people to move to Smyrna when nobody wanted to live here. It's not in my notes, but it's just, and this could be incorrect marginally. In 1988, my dad tried to sell his house, and I believe the sales price was something on the order of $48,000. In the 11 years that preceded, when I finished college, I have a tendency to talk fast because I don't like to speak in public, so let me slow down for a second. 11 years later, I'd graduated from college, and I came back to Smyrna, and I saw what was going on. The Market Village was well underway with what they were trying to accomplish there. The community center, my mom used it religiously. City Hall, all that stuff was in the works. And I said, you know what? I don't need to go to Buckhead with my college buddies. This is going to be a fantastic place to live. I bought a house in February of 1999 on the street I grew up in. So this is 11 years removed from my dad trying to sell his house, failing to sell his house for $48,000, and bought a house for $59,000. And that is like atrocious appreciation in real estate. In 2000, I want to get this right, January of 2006, I sold that house for $170,000. That's a product of what good leadership does to real estate values and the opportunities it creates for all of us. Each and every one of you are citizens of Smyrna, and you're here because you love Smyrna. Smart growth creates that kind of opportunity for each and every one of us. We have to have smart leadership when it comes to protecting our land. I go on in this email that hopefully you guys have seen part of it, and I don't want to completely bore you, but we don't have to carve it up into the smallest parcels to create value, right? We can create fantastic homes. I've tried over the last several years when I realized that it wasn't possible to fight the development. That because we had to create an environment to bring development to Smyrna, it's a very painful thing to try to figure out how to turn that faucet off, right? So we don't want to have negative growth. We don't want to go into a situation where we put moratoriums on stuff that affect us for decades to come. But what we do want to do is have growth that is intelligent. We want to have growth that is smart and growth that is beneficial for everybody in Smyrna. And it can be. But taking this parcel to 3 lots will decimate the canopy. It'll make me a lot more money, and it will. And I want you guys to think about that. Because in my estimation, it's about $180,000 that I'm willing to say, psst, my beliefs are more important. That's a lot of money to me. I'm not rich. I work really hard for what we have. I'm very blessed. And I am so much more blessed that I get to do what I love every day in this city. This is a fantastic place to live. My goal with this development is to build 2 very beautiful homes that are an asset to the community, to develop 2 lots in a manner that has minimal impact on the canopy. If you guys haven't visited this parcel, I would encourage you to do so. You walk in this backyard, and it is something majestic, and it'll be majestic for 2 homes. No other builder is going to forego the profit of the extra lot, and I really would appreciate your support of my application. The why for other developers is a one-word answer. It's profit. The why for me, something more personal and much more challenging to explain, but the bottom line is, like Mayor Bacon, I love Smyrna, and it'll always be my hometown. Now, before I start crying, I'd like to ask you guys if you have any questions for me.
Any questions of Mr. Powell?
Yes, Mr. Powell. I have visited the parcel, and it is absolutely beautiful.
It is.
My concern is all that beauty that is in the back with the trees.
Yes.
What are you proposing to do with that?
Well, if I start by tearing them all down,
It's a no.
yes, I understand that. I'm joking completely. I created my first design, or site plan, if you will, to kind of push the houses off the street. It's a weird lot. It sits on an angle to the street, and you like with your build lines and setbacks. It really, can you put the
It's up there. They just need to turn it on.
Can they turn it on? Can you turn on the site plan? All right.
Yeah.
So if you look at it, it doesn't sit like perfectly perpendicular. And so when you have the building setbacks, they don't sit perfectly perpendicular. So what happens is the angles are affecting how you lay the houses on the lots. So my first plan was an exact reversal, meaning the house on the top and the house on the bottom, the house on 7 and 8 were flipped over. So I met out there with one of the neighbors, and to be perfectly honest with you, I didn't represent myself well, my company well, anything well. I probably didn't answer her questions in a way that it was fair for the conversation. So I went back to the drawing board and flipped the houses over, because her chief concern was the canopy. What you can't see on that site plan is there is a giant oak tree on the top of lot 8, very close to that back corner, and if I flip the plan over, I would encroach into the structural root plate, and there's no way we could salvage that tree. Same is true of the house on lot 7, except it's not exactly, doesn't hold as much impact because the tree's a little further back, in my opinion, and it's closer to the property boundary. The key to saving the canopy is having flexibility with placement on the lot. Bring the houses as close to the street as possible. Give me flexibility in between the houses to place them in a manner that is minimally affected, or whatever, I don't know what I'm trying to say, on the canopy, right? The key is getting away from the trees. Trees are very durable, right? But I tell you, and I told the neighbor that day that I've gotten more problems from trees I tried to save than trees I've taken down. Because the last thing you want to do is build a house like this and then have your client call you 12 months later and say, you know what, tree's dead. I need you to come help me take it down. And now all of a sudden, something that cost $1,000 during construction, because you have equipment and other resources on site, costs you $5,000 because you're trying to protect landscape and repair and other things. So flexibility in between the structures, moving them toward the street, those are all things that help protect the canopy. I hope I answered your question.
Any other questions, Mr. Rupert?
Sure. So, but there's so you're moving them more toward the street than what the house is now? Is that sits there now? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Do we have the site plan? I do. I believe that's correct.
Oh, I was just trying to understand what you were saying. Okay, but
No.
it still meets the front setback.
Yes,
looks like.
it meets the front setback. But if you guys really care about saving the trees, move the front setback 10 feet further. If that's really a concern, let's eliminate that concern and let's protect the trees. You guys have that authority, I believe, Your Honor.
You're saying to move them back a little further than this?
Closer to the street.
Oh, closer than that. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Mr. Powell.
Okay.
I want to applaud you for your attempt, because you could have taken additional profit by having 3 lots, but I applaud you for taking the time to think through this site for its ultimate benefit and the people who will live and work and play in this community. And I have seen an awful lot of your work throughout the community, and I've been amazed and impressed and thankful that there's a builder who cares like you. So thank you for what you're doing. My 2 questions are, 1, do we need to grant you that authority to give you that setback? 2, what's your price point for these homes so people can get a sense of what's going on here? And does it comport with your neighborhood partners, your neighbors?
Yeah. So first of all, thanks for the comments. Second, the price point, I like to just go with the data. My house, the last 3 houses I've sold, one immediately, like 5 houses, not even. I think it's 2 houses, 3 houses away from this parcel, sold, I believe, as a matter of record, $725,000. But my clients, because what happens, I don't know, Shane may be able to tell you, I have no idea the last time we actually had a house on the open market. Like, they sell during construction. So we meet with the clients and we customize these houses. My hunch is, because we stick with our contract price and we try not to have a ton of amendments to the contract, that most of my houses should have a sales price of about $750. All right, and I know that's a really high number, but the value of the property, it is in keeping with the value of the property in these neighborhoods. And your other question, did I answer them both? The setback, I met with the neighbors, a few of the neighbors on Saturday, and they were like, well, what is the benefit to you? Well, the driveway gets shorter, right? So the driveway's concrete, that saves me some money, right? But that, protecting the trees is more important than me saving a few dollars on the driveway, because we're not talking about a ton of money in the driveway, right? When I first bought these properties, they're 300 feet deep. I mean, I live on a fantastic lot. It's 220 feet deep. 300? Like, I've flirted with the idea. It's unbelievable. 300 feet deep is extraordinarily deep in this area. And so one of the arguments, one of the comments, and by the way, I do want to say this. I've been the zoning chairman for going on 10 years. Thank you. And in all my years, it's literally over 100 hearings, these neighbors came out and they want to protect their property, and they were so completely respectful of me and my business and the people that work for me that live here. And I told one of them this weekend, I don't want to build these houses if you guys don't want me here. Like, I honestly don't. I would rather sell this to somebody else and let them have an opportunity to do what they wanted for their vision. I believe this is the best case scenario for these guys, and I'm hopeful that they can agree that this is a best case scenario, because if I were to go over and put one house on this parcel, it would have to be something in the order of a $1.3 million house to justify the lot cost. If I do that, you're looking at a structure that is twice as large as any one of these structures, most likely has a pool, and you talk about your canopy, it's going to disappear. So this is the best case scenario for this lot.
Anyone have any other questions? I know we had some folks that were sworn in. I'd like to hear from them. If you just take a seat, Mr. Powell, I'll ask for those folks that sworn in to step forward and tell us who you are, where you live, and Any comments that you'd like to make?
Hi, I'm Judy Adkins. I live next door to that lot and have lived there for 30 years. I came to the zoning board with a lot of numbers and talked to the zoning board with numbers. From what I've heard this week, talked to Rusty for a long time the other day. I don't feel like I have much that I can say that's going to change the opinion. What I need to say has something to do with the feelings behind everything that's happened. First of all, Joel, you said that nobody wanted to live here in 1988. Actually, I did. I did live here. And I actually loved my life here in my little 1,400 square foot house that we specifically bought because there were beautiful hardwood trees surrounding. We walked down Hugh Street, and it was a canopy of trees. That's why we moved here, and we wanted to move here. And maybe it wasn't about money value, and that our $75,000 house at that point to Joel might not have had much value, but you know what? We actually really liked living here, and so do a lot of the other neighbors that are sitting back there. They actually thought Smyrna was a pretty cool place then, and very much because they were big lots. I raised 5 kids. I know all about kids. I raised 5 sons, 3 sons, 2 stepsons. In that little house, they played and made tree houses, and they played in the lawns, and we had huge lots. That's why we moved here. I know development happens. I know this is going to happen. Joel, I am glad that it's going to be 2 lots and not 3. Trust me. But I also just need a venue somewhere for people to hear, you know, Joel and the other developers who have already come into our Hugh Street, Brown Circle, Hill Street neighborhood didn't have to go from 12 to 1,400 square foot houses to 3,800 square foot houses. There's never been sort of the conversation that maybe they could have done 2,800 square foot houses and still kept the canopy. We've lost 50% of our canopy since I've lived here in the last 30 years because of the development. That makes me sad. It is not maybe the houses didn't have as much value, but there is value in lot size. And, you know, Joel was so startled that there's a 300-foot lot. Actually, we all had them, and I would like to keep mine. Now, the truth of the matter is, the houses that he has built, I think he's a good builder. I have no qualms about Joel as a builder. I do need to say, this as an aside, I do think that it is not a very ethical thing to have the head of your zoning board be somebody who is a developer who's doing a lot of developing in Smyrna, even if he recuses himself for that particular thing. I think ethically that's a little bit of a perception. You know, ethics are also about the perception of conflict of interest. I think it feels like a conflict of interest to everybody I've mentioned this scenario to. So I just needed to say that. That's something I think the city council should look at. But I guess all I would like to say is I wish that however he proceeds with this, that it be, yes, I think he heard me about my particular concern about the trees. We have a particular zoning issue too, that because we bought it, in 88 or 89, I guess. It was owned by a family. There was a mother who lived next door. The daughter lived in our house. There's an issue with 4 feet that we didn't know was 4 feet. And so I hope that Joel is going to work with us around that. It's going to cause part of our driveway went over is on his lot that we didn't know it was as large. Nobody made a deal of it because it was a mother-daughter scenario. You probably knew Frances Hepner, right? And Lisa and Trina. Yep. So the bottom line is, I hope that Joel keeps the 20 feet between houses if possible, even though there's a discrepancy on our driveway. I hope that he works really hard to save those trees, whatever needs to happen to make that happen. And I hope that people can actually recognize that the folks who are buying 3,800 square foot houses are not more valuable than the people who actually loved living in 1,400 square foot houses on big lots. You know, we matter just as much. So I guess that's all I have to say. It's more emotional than anything, but I needed to be heard.
Thank you very much.
Can I comment too?
Just a minute. No,
Okay.
go ahead. Let me get the other speaker. Give them an opportunity to come speak. Mhm.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm Carlton Adkins. That's my wife, Judy. We do live at the lot to the north of this property in question. And one thing I would like to say is I really think Joel has heard. You know, we've had several meetings. We've had email exchanges, and I think he did hear my wife when she brought up the issue with him at their first time that they spoke about the canopy. Now, we'll have to say that it was not a pleasant meeting. My wife was very upset about what Joel had to say, and I do appreciate that he said he wasn't in his best form that day. I think Joel is a fantastic builder. As she said, we have no qualms with his ability or his passion for Smyrna, or his passion for Mayor Bacon. You know, we all have appreciated what you've done for this city. And as she said, we moved here 30 years ago because we love this community, and we have enjoyed it, and we have flourished in this community. You know, all the downtown area has been such a joy for us to be a part of, to be able to walk up here and enjoy the amenities of this city. So we thank you for that. We do have an issue. I have my original plat map from 1989, which shows my driveway being within my property line. All of the new property lines and the one that was just done today where Joel they came out and they looked at our property lines, shows my driveway being 4 feet into Joel's property. And he and I have talked about it, and he can't give me any guarantees right now what the issue is going to be, but the way it's drawn right now, he only has to be 10 feet from my property line, his house. Well, that means really 6 feet for me, or actually 5.5, because his plot shows my driveway being 4.7 feet into his property. So I'm very concerned about a house being 6 feet away from my property, which my driveway is right next to my house. And so it's disturbing after 30 years of looking out at beautiful trees, because the whole side of my house is windows. It's where we sit, it's where we look out, it's where we come to the first thing in the morning, it's where we are at the end of the day. And from now on, I'll be looking at the side of a house. So that's progress, but it's not something that makes me happy. And so we're just expressing our concern that we want to be good neighbors. I've heard Joel say he wants to be a good neighbor, and I'm wanting to hold him to that. I'm wanting him to be the man that he says he is. And all the long speech that he gave up here, I'm not going to be as long-winded and say, I'm a man of my word, and I'm a man of honor, and I want Joel to be the same man and do whatever he can to protect my property and my welfare, and the fact that I have moved to Smyrna and lived in Smyrna, and people come up to me all the time, tell me how much they love my house. My little 14-square-foot house, people adore. Somebody stopped me on Saturday. They were walking by and they said, we love your house. And I'm so grateful. I said, well, see the guy standing over there? He's about to put 2 houses right next to it. They're going to dwarf my little house. And Joel tries to reassure me that my property value will go up. Well, I don't give a real rip about that personally. I care about property value, but there are things more important to me. And there's nothing that I can say or do that's going to change 2 houses coming onto my property next door. I would like to I appreciate you allowing us to have our say and to show and express our concern for what's happening in our neighborhood. Because, as Judy said, we've lost the canopy. The houses are coming in, they're filling up the whole lot, Well, luckily, Joel's got a lot that's got 300-foot property line, yeah, so somebody's going to get to enjoy a nice backyard. And so I would ask you to listen to him when he asks you for some variance on that. To what I would like is for his houses to be moved closer together and leave me a little bit more room on mine. He has to put 10 feet between each house. That means there's 20 feet between his houses, when there may only be 6 feet between his and mine. So if you can do anything, I say let him bring his houses closer together, and I would appreciate that. So I thank you for your time and for all that y'all do for our community. Appreciate it. Any questions?
Questions?
I have a question for you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just going to ask this question. I can't say right now if I'm going to agree with what you say or not, but would you prefer, I guess the question is as Mr. Powell has said, we would have a better chance of maintaining the tree canopy if we allowed him to move, and I'm going to say 10 feet closer to the street. Would you prefer that movement, or would you prefer the possibility of losing the tree canopy?
No, we don't want to lose the trees. I don't know.
I mean, I don't either, but I mean, which of the...
Well, my question, and I'm the one who asked him, well, how does that benefit you, Joel? Because, you know, he said he would like to see if he could move it closer, and, you know, part of it is it would cost him less to build a driveway. I don't know what else. I don't know if that creates a precedent for our neighborhood. I don't know if moving houses closer to the street is a real issue. That's out of my purview of knowledge.
I can't see the cost of that little bit of driveway as really being, I mean, it would, you know, we're talking.
So I don't know. I can't answer your question intelligently.
Okay.
Because you know, it's not something that I have knowledge of.
Okay.
But I guess I could say I don't really see an issue with it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
A couple of things. Well, I just want to say I appreciate you and your wife both coming to speak, and what you talked about, what you value. I also value my outdoor space as much as my indoor space, and I live in a small house as well, and with more yard. And I also live on a house with that's two original lots of record with one now. And even though I do like what you're doing, I think the size of those lots are different than, say, some of the other ones I'm aware of that might be divided. They might even go below that. What is the R15? I think in terms of size, if it was divided. And so, I just want to say that I might not support every division of every original lot of record, but I think we need to look at them all differently. And I'm looking at this situation now, and in terms of the size of the lots, they are still going to be very large lots with just a small amount of that width, and it does match the other lots. And but I'm hearing what you're saying too, and I think it is all about trying to compromise a little bit and work with the neighbors. And so I appreciate what you're saying and asking, and so I'd like to hear what Joel has in mind as well in terms of moving a little forward or even moving those a little bit closer together if that's something that that could be reach a compromise. Anyway, but thank you for speaking.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Mr. Powell, if you want to step back up and.
Do you have a rebuttal, sir?
Well,
I don't know if you call it a rebuttal. I mean, we're saying the same thing. We're just saying it from different perspectives. Like, the first thing I would like to say is we can't lose sight of what our zoning ordinances allow. This is 3 lots. This is a down zoning. It's not just me ripping profit out of my pocket. It's me, my company, protecting what I believe is the integrity of our neighborhood. This is not a joke for me. It's something I really believe. development's coming. I told them on Saturday, it's me or it's 3. That's what they have to
So
think
I have a
about.
question about that. How would
Hold on,
three?
hold on one
okay.
second. Just one second. I just want to answer both questions, if you don't mind, Ms. Wilkinson. As far as me being a conflict of interest with being the zoning chairman, I recused myself. I had nothing to do with it. This, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, Rusty has been employed here the entire time I've been the zoning chairman. This is the first case where I have tried to subdivide or go back to an original plat. I haven't brought anything at any point in the entire time I've been the zoning chairman before mayor and council or zoning. The only thing I've ever come in here for is to annex property that was not in the city of Smyrna but adjacent to property, and I do believe that was 2201 Dixie Avenue and 2261 Dixie Avenue. And that was projects that I was working on. One of them was a property that I owned. I do believe I annexed another property off of Old Concord Road, which I can't remember the street number, but I have a history of preserving Smyrna, trying to save Smyrna, not this. If you look at every one of the houses I've built in the last, if you look at every house I've built in the last 4 years, it's something like a $10 million, $9.5 million impact to the city, which resulted into like a subsequent, at the year of construction to the next year, something like $94,000 in revenue annually to the county. It's more if you go to today's number. But that's doing one-off construction. And these guys that come up here and they go, hey, I can carve this into 3 lots, they're getting paid to do it.
And I think, I don't want to interrupt, but I am.
Interrupt.
But what we're looking at is we're looking at 2 lots in a R15 zoning, which R15 is 15,000 square feet. If you divide this lot, this property, you will have 19,000 something square feet.
Something like that, yeah.
Which is in excess of the 15,000 square foot minimum square lot. I'm sorry that you were my appointee. I don't apologize for that. I would name you again as my appointee. I think you've done a great job, and I'm glad that we got somebody on there that has some background in building and knows a little bit about development. I have never seen you ever benefit yourself. You've been nothing but a good steward of the city and the protection of neighborhoods. I know that the neighbors become very passionate. The most passionate issue that ever comes before this body is property rights. And when you start dealing with somebody developing property around folks, it's changing. I mean, I get it. I mean, I understand. But if I had to have somebody building next to me, there's nobody better than Joel Powell that would build and do what he says he's going to do. I believe he'll do what he's going to say he's going to do. I believe he'll work out whatever the issue with you being on his property. I think he'll work that out. I think he'll work everything out. So, are there any other questions?
Ms. Wilkinson had a question.
Ms. Wilkinson, you have one.
I guess what we were just talking about in terms of the ask of the neighbors in terms of a little closer together to, or how is the driveway going to be resolved, the issue, and
Okay.
And the moving them more forward. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
All right. So there's 2 different issues, and you guys have professional staff that we've hired that do a fantastic job. You really need to lean on their wisdom and judgment on how to craft, giving me flexibility and not abusing the neighborhood. I don't want to pre-cook the meal. If you let me put the ingredients in the soup, it may not taste as good. Let them do it. And then they will do a fantastic job of protecting the neighbors and trying to give me some flexibility. The item with the driveway is a little bit more difficult, okay? The reason they staked it today, I tried to get them to stake it Friday because I met with a few of the neighbors on Saturday. was to give us an illustration to figure out what is there. And I would absolutely encourage them to take their plat. I gave them the surveyor's information. They need that plat to verify. People make mistakes. And if their driveway's 2 foot on or 4 foot on, I want it to be vetted out before we do anything, right? And one of the things I said on Saturday is there's a way to do this. There's a way to craft this. And Mr. Tucker would probably be better able to articulate how you do it in a manner that is not invasive of either neighbor or protects the liability associated with having property that is shared. It's more complex than a builder can give you a definition to. What I did tell, his name is Carl, but he goes by Butch, and what I did tell Butch on Saturday is I feel like we can work out a solution to the issue that is least costly and protects both of us, and that's I believe we can, but that's something for an attorney to decide, not me. I don't know how to craft that.
I'll just echo what a couple people said. I think the quality of your product and your integrity is unquestioned. For the neighbors, I know you're trying to work through some of those things. The beautiful vista that you have enjoyed unimpeded for a long time. I have an anecdote to share with you. My father bought a piece of property in 1970. It was 26 and a half acres, and it had beautiful land next door. He was offered from the owner of that land to sell a 20-acre tract next door for $5,000. He had the money in the bank, and he said, why do I have 26 acres? Why do I need 20 more? To this day, he regrets that decision because that property next door of 20 acres was purchased. It now has 20 homeowners and families living on that 20 acres. So that vista he used to enjoy, being a forested land, was lost by one moment in time. And Smyrna is only 15 square miles. Everybody's coming here, as my great-grandmother, who was a Cherokee Indian, would say, many more white men come. There is a choice we're all having to make. It is a fact that Smyrna is a popular destination. Very few lots remain buildable. And when a developer, Joel Hasenid is the chair of this planning committee, 15 developers have the same tract of land on their tote board. They're all vying for it, and they will find the smallest lot for the biggest house they can build. So I applaud you for taking a step back and thinking of the bigger picture and the city's well-being and the quality of life and choosing to do what you've done.
Are there any other questions of anyone that has spoken tonight? If not, Ms. Blackman.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Powell. Thank you. I don't think that you're on trial here because of the character or the type of house that you built. I think we all know that. I think what we are looking at and what I'm hearing from my constituents, what they're saying is they just want to make sure that we're going to keep the character of the neighborhood intact. By the mere fact that you've taken the time to sit down with them and express or hear what their concerns are and willing to work with them to resolve whatever the issues may be somehow, I commend you for that, so I say thank you. I want to say to my Hughes Street residents, thank you for coming out and speaking up and saying how you feel about your neighborhood. I had an opportunity to walk through the neighborhood with you the other day, and I absolutely fell in love with it. I thank you for the book that you shared with me. I think it's called The Paperboy. So I learned a lot about the Hughes Street area and some of the houses that were built there and the people that were there. And to know that some of the houses that are older have not been torn down, but they've been somewhat renovated. And they're beautiful. You got me when you said smart growth. I'm all about smart growth. And that's something that's going to happen regardless of whether we want it to or not. So you're on that same thought plane. So with that, I am going to make a motion to approve. 2019-268, approval of a subdivision plat for 2 lots with a lot width variance for each lot of 0.87 acres. Land lot 489, 2646 Hughes Street, Fairbanks Construction Services,
Second.
LLC.
Second.
Motion is second to approve this subdivision plat for 2 lots. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion? Approved 7-0. Item 5 is privilege licenses. We have none. Item, I'm sorry, we do have some. We have one. A, license number 2019-20, public hearing privilege license request 2019-20, beer, wine pouring, 3315 South Cobb Drive, STE, well, that's Suite 300, Wire Street Foods LLC, doing business as Wire Street Foods, with Fahara Rabbi as the agent. Is the agent here? Okay. Miss Jones, the back, I see Miss Blackburn, but the background, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Rabbi will be the registered agent responsible for the sale of alcohol at the referenced location. Farhan Rabbi has been given a copy of the alcoholic beverage ordinance and attended the mandatory alcohol awareness workshop. A background investigation conducted by the Smyrna Police Department failed to reveal information that would preclude issuance of this license. Mr. Rabbi has agreed to abide by the guidelines set forth by the City of Smyrna ordinance governing the sale of alcohol. Staff recommends approval of the privilege license for the sale of beer and wine, retail pouring at Wire Street Foods, LLC, with Farhan Rabbi as the registered agent.
If the applicant would please step forward. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here that's in opposition to or that would like to make any public comment concerning the issuance of this privilege license for beer and wine pouring? Let the record show there is no opposition. Mr. Tucker, will you swear in, or do we need to? Okay, good. This is in Ms. Blackburn's district. Ms. Blackburn.
Hi, is it Farhan?
Farhan.
Mm-hmm. Farhan Rabbi.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We have before us, you want the license. I understand, is it a restaurant as well? Can you tell us a little bit about your restaurant?
It's Asian restaurant, so it's inspired by street food from around the world. So we do a little bit of ramen, poke, and Korean fried chicken. So one of the things that I live in Smyrna as well, I used to work here, and one of the things that's missing is the diversity of food. And if you drive out to Beaufort Highway, it's great, right? But it takes an hour, maybe an hour and a half, depending on traffic. So I'd like to bring in some of those flavors here into Smyrna, and we've been doing so for the past 9 months, 8, and we're doing well, and I'd like to add beer and wine to that.
Okay, and you've also had to go through the procedure that we have when you go through making sure that you're within the guidelines of serving alcohol and to those that are minors and whatnot, the police check and stuff.
Yes.
And you understand that, you're in agreement with it as well?
I do.
Okay.
Mr. how's your business? I did have a chance to stop by and.
It's good. It's growing. It's we're definitely getting more and more people coming in. Word of mouth is going along. We've been advertising and doing different promotions, and I believe the addition of beer and wine will help boost sales.
So exactly where is your restaurant?
The old Kroger Shopping Center.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be the Bontai restaurant next to Planet Fitness and Little Caesars.
How many
Okay.
seats?
Right. It's where the fitness place is,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good deal.
I think we should make it a requirement when these people come to
Bring
get
samples.
licenses, they bring menus with them so we
So we
can
can-
see what's on the menu.
Serve some samples. That's great. Well, I'm glad that you're here, and like you said, it's true. We've got a rich culture in Smyrna, so the diversity is great to have different foods. So with that, if we have no further questions, I would like to approve LIC 2019-20, privilege license request 2019-20, beer and wine pouring, 3315 South Cobb Drive, Suite 300, Wire Street Foods LLC, DBA Wire Street Foods, with Farhan Rabbi as agent.
Second.
Motion and second. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion? It's approved 7-0. Thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 6 is formal business A, 2019-264, abandon an alleyway behind 1529 and 1539 Roswell Street, and authorize the mayor to execute all necessary documents to convey the alleyway to the adjacent property owners. Ms. Tammy Sadler-Jones, will you please give us a background?
Well, Mayor, I may have to give it to Jeffrey Tucker, because our city attorney's office was working on this agenda item.
Mr. Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a small section of abandoned alleyway that's behind a couple of properties on Roswell Street, and it affects 3 property owners, 2 on Roswell Street and then 1 behind the alleyway. And I'll admit, I don't even know what the other street behind that is. The abandonment by the city totals up to only about 700 square feet. I think Scott Cochran has worked out with all 3 property owners for the city to transfer record title ownership of the small parcels on the alleyway to them. I think it's about 200 square feet each for the properties on Roswell, and then about 300 behind. The lot behind kind of straddles the 2 on Roswell if you're looking at it on the map. So the abandonment goes on Roswell Street to the center point of the alley, and on the other side coming, I guess that would be southeast maybe. But we have all this worked out with all 3 of the property owners, and it's just something that it's a very small piece, and the city, has no more use for it as a public street.
All right. Ms. Blackburn.
Thank you, Mayor. I know this is something that, Mr. Tucker, we've been working on quite a while, so I'm glad that we're able to get this resolved. I'd like to move for approval of item 6A2019-264, abandon an alleyway behind 1529 and 1539 Roswell Street, and authorize the mayor to execute all necessary documents to convey the alleyway to the adjacent property owners.
Second. A motion and second to approve this abandonment of these alleyways. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion? It's approved 7-0. Item B under formal business is 2019-321. Approve the release and settlement agreement between the City of Smyrna, Woodland Walk Community Association, Inc., and Hidden Falls HOA of Smyrna, Inc., with the City of Smyrna's portion of the settlement being $25,000 to be taken from the Stormwater Fund, and authorize the mayor to execute any related documents. Ms. Jones, you want to take a shot of that? Hey, Ms. Daniel Jones, our city administrator.
I'd like to ask Mr. Corky Welch to take this one.
Okay. Corky, who represents that district, who has been working with these 2 HOAs. Mr. Welch.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is an issue that's been going on for probably 4 years, where one development was put in up on a hill, and when it was developed, there was something of a ditch that was left out of the grading on that property. As a result, it flows down onto another development. Roughly 4 years ago, we started talking with the 2 of them. At this point, the city is looking to put in $25,000 into this settlement for a full release. In addition to that, there are 5 property owners in the upper development that's also putting in an additional $25,000. Mr. Mayor, I'll answer any questions that need to be of any of the council members, if there are any.
Well, question is, you might have just said this, just to clarify that each of the homeowners are investing in this solution also. Right?
They are. I believe the total cost to Mr. Gould is $150,000, and actually their insurance companies are putting in $25,000 each for 5 of them, and we're putting in the additional 25 to make it even at 150.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions?
Excuse me. Hearing no other questions, I make a motion to approve the release and settlement agreement between the City of Smyrna, Woodland Walk Community Association Incorporated, and Hidden Falls HOA of Smyrna Incorporated, with the City of Smyrna portion of the settlement being $25,000 to be taken from the Stormwater Fund, and authorize the mayor to execute all related documents.
Second.
Motion is second to approve the release and settlement agreement. If no other discussion, all those in favor of the motion? It's approved 7-0. Item C, under formal business 2019-322, approve the release and settlement agreement between the City of Smyrna and Todd Peters, property owner of 4144 Matson Avenue, with the amount being $95,000 to be funded out of the Infrastructure Fund, and to authorize the mayor to execute any related documents. I'm going to ask that our attorney, Jeffrey Tucker, please address that issue for background, and then I'll turn it over to Mr. Welch.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a property that when Bennett Woods was originally platted decades and decades ago, there's some ambiguity as to whether the city at that time took a dedication of a waterway that runs down through their stream. And if the city took the dedication, then it has some maintenance responsibilities that creates liability on the city's problem. As it happens, the waterway has caused some structural difficulties for this property owner. I believe his driveway is partly subsiding. It's very difficult on the driveway that's adjacent to the waterway to get access. And so in order to forestall any claims of liability that might arise, there's no active litigation or anything between the city and this property owner, but to close off future potential liability from this property owner or from future property owners of this property, the city has worked out a settlement with him where the city will pay him out of the infrastructure fund in return for releasing all of the city's current and future liability, in return for which the property owner is also going to accept a disclaimer of the dedication on behalf of the city. This will almost have the same effect as if the city were to deed a little bit of land from the waterway over onto this parcel of land, but by accepting the disclaimer and putting it in recordable form where the city's liability will be placed the lack of liability going forward will be placed of public record. Any future purchaser or owner of this land will be bound, just as the current property owner is, not to pursue any kind of liability on the city's part. So I put it to the city council the other night. This is in effect buying a little bit of an insurance policy for some potential liability that, if it ripened fully, could be a very, very serious issue for the city. And so we're trying to head this off before it becomes any more severe than it is now.
Mr. Welch.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe our council has explained that in explicit detail, and much better than I can much better than I can. With that, I would like to make a motion. I guess I'll ask for any other questions of any council. Seeing none, I'll make a motion to approve item 6C, 2019-322, the approval and release of a settlement agreement between the City of Smyrna and Todd Peters, the property owner at 4144 Manson Avenue, with the amount being $95,000 to be funded out of the infrastructure fund, and authorize the mayor to execute any related documents.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion? It's approved 7-0. Item D, under formal business 2019-320, Approve the purchase of the Civic Rec digital registration platform for use by the Parks and Recreation Department for an annual cost of $26,746.22, plus a one-time implementation and training cost of $25,900 for a total of $52,646.22, and authorize the mayor to execute any and all documents. Ms. Jones, the background, please.
The Parks and Recreation Department will be updating its activity registration software. The new proposed software will allow the city to pass on any credit card fees to the end user. The Civic Rec software is tailored specifically for governmental entities. Civic Plus Incorporated is the sole source provider of this recreation management system, Civic Rec. It is the recommendation of the Parks and Recreation Director and the Purchasing Manager that the city award the updated registration software package to Civic Plus in the amount of $52,646.22. This does include a one-time implementation and training cost and an annual cost of $26,746.22, and authorize the mayor to execute any and all related documents.
It's the sponsor is Bacon. I'll ask that Mr. Norton make a motion, please.
Be glad to make a motion to approve item 6D 2019-320, approve the purchase of the Civic Rec digital registration platform for use by the Parks and Recreation Department for an annual cost of $26,746.22, plus one-time implementation and training cost of $25,900 for a total of $52,646.22, and authorize the mayor to execute any and all documents.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion? Approved 6-1. Ms. Wilkinson votes in the negative. Item 7, commercial building permits. We have none. Ms. Jones, will you please read the consent agenda for council's approval? And also note that item F has been withdrawn. Ms. Jones.
Yes, the consent agenda reads as follows. Item A, approval of the September 3rd, 2019 mayor and council meeting minutes. Item B, approval of the September 3rd, 2019 pre-council meeting minutes. Item C, approval of the August 29th, 2019 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes. Item D, approval of the fiscal year 2019 final budget amendment. Item E, approval of 2020 annual Smyrna community event dates. And item G, approve the closing of the following streets for the Smyrna Parks and Recreation's Casper's Fall Carnival: King Street from Bank Street to Village Green Circle, entire Village Green Circle from Atlanta Road from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Friday, October the 11th, 2019.
Here, a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of the motion? It's approved 6-1 with Ms. Blackburn voting in the negative. Item 9 is committee reports. We'll start tonight with Mr. Derek Norton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No committee report, but I do want to say I had the pleasure of attending a surprise birthday party on Saturday at the Reed House, and I'm really proud of our Smyrna Police Department for showing up big. This was for Ty Clinner. He's got a severe case of cerebral palsy and was recently awarded tickets to go to Disney World in Orlando as part of the Icing Smiles program, which helps to make dreams come true for very ill children. And the Disney-themed birthday cake was actually baked by our own Lieutenant Foreman. But you came up to the Reed House on Saturday, and there were so many police cars and the SWAT van and everything else. It was the safest party I've ever been to. I know that, but really meant a lot to Ty and was great for our police department to show up so big for him. So just wanted to thank them for that, recognize them for that. With that, I yield.
Ms. Andrea Bluestein.
Your Honor, I do not have a report for this evening.
Thank you. Ms. Marilyn Blackburn.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I want to say thank you to the Smyrna Arts Council, to Ms. Jones Stewart and Miss Nancy McGee and those wonderful artists for pulling all this together, and it was absolutely beautiful. And hopefully, you all will take the opportunity to come back and visit and look at all the wonderful art that we have on the wall here at City Hall as well. Then Wednesday, we had the opportunity to participate in the Patriots Day memorial service, and it was well attended, and I just want to say thank you to everyone that came out for that. Taste of Smyrna was incredible. It was absolutely wonderful. People coming out, walking around, eating food, to see all of the families that were there. One thing I kept saying the entire time I was walking around was that Smyrna is truly a family-friendly city. So I really did enjoy that and enjoyed seeing all the people and the beautiful, beautiful diversity that the city has. We take upon us as well. I want to also ditto Councilman Norton on the birthday party on Saturday. It really was very well organized, and hats off to our police department for stepping up, stepping out, and doing something incredible for this young man. Ty was absolutely adorable, and he was very excited, so it was good to see us being able to be part of giving back to our community. And then I want to finish by saying that when I talked about diversity earlier, as it being related to the Taste of Smyrna, Smyrna is a very diverse city. And one thing that we have to understand is with the 56,000 people that we have here, the diversity is important that we add inclusion to that. So with the inclusion, we have to be able to step out and do other things that are most important to our community as it relates to the cultures and celebrating the cultures and that diversity in our city. So with that, I yield.
Mr. Corky Welch.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just want to thank everybody for coming out Saturday to the Taste of Smyrna, Saturday and Sunday. It was a fun event, and I went and spent a little money and enjoyed myself and had my fill of several different types of food. So thanks, everybody, for coming out.
Ms. Susan Wilkinson.
Yes, I want to thank the staff for the Patriots event on 9/11. It was a very nice event, very respectful, and thank everyone for coming out for that event as well. And also, I want to let people know what's going on at the library. For this year's Smyrna Reads program, Smyrna Library is revisiting America's founding era. The library invites everyone to read the U.S. Constitution, and it will host 2 discussions for adults. The library will also host a play for ages 5 and up on Monday, September 23rd at 11 a.m. The one-woman play is a spy story set during the Revolutionary War era. More information about Smyrna Reads and library programming, visit smyrnareads.com. And with that, I yield.
Mr. Tim Gu.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No committee report, but I do want to share some information about today's meeting of the Air Quality Oversight Committee regarding Sterigenics and the issue around ethylene oxide emissions. So the committee received data today for the first 3 days of testing where data is available. 20 plus stations are out there, and 80% of those stations showed no evidence of ethylene oxide, and then 20% had just amount that you'd expect in the ambient air. So this is just 3 days. There's 2 more days of data left to be calculated through the lab or whatnot, and those I'm sure will get released soon enough. Obviously, as we know, our friends and residents are really concerned about this issue, and basic questions they want answered are, are my kids going to get sick? Is this possibly the cause of my neighbor's illness or whatnot? So one of the roles of the Oversight Committee is really to get the data and get it out as fast as possible to our residents so they can make these decisions for themselves, that they can look at the data and draw their own conclusions. We're not, we want to just be clear and objective and forthcoming with the testing information as soon as it's available and let our residents draw the conclusions. And hopefully that those conclusions are that the air is safe, that Smyrna is a great place to live, and there's no concerns. But let the data lead us to that conclusion. Okay. That's it, Mr. Mayor. Thanks.
And you can also go to our website.
Oh, yes, thank you. All the mayor, the committee is chaired by Mayor Bacon and Commissioner Ott. And one of the things they really want to make sure is that any of the information that is released is easily accessible to our residents. It's posted on the city website already, so it's a lot of data, but there's some I'm sure there's some easy to read information in there also.
I think if you go to Jennifer, you want to, new news. Hold on, come on down.
You can go to the front page of smyrnaga.gov and look for, it's usually the event listing, but there's a toggle for news. And under that, there's an outline of a lot of the comments and questions, some notes on there, plus the links to the maps and the summary data. And there's also a link to a PDF that's just a composite of screenshots of all of that information. We also pushed it out, the link out on the Facebook page today and on Instagram. So,
Thank you so much for doing that. And just for those folks that have expressed some concern that the Sterigenics business has been closed down during this testing period, I was sort of concerned at first, but I'm not now, because that gives us a base of what we're looking at with them not being in operation. Because when they crank back up again, I think we'll have a 9-day period where we will go out and test again. Plus also EPD, EPA, American Cancer Society, it's my understanding, they're all doing testing too that will go over a period of months and possibly a year or so. So it was a good meeting today. Okay, thank you, Tim. Anything else? No. Mr. Fennell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to applaud the team too, Mr. Mayor, for the leadership and for those who have joined the team. And I know Tim has been very diligent about staying up on the details. Thank you, Jennifer, for posting it on the website. I thank Cobb County for others who have joined our efforts at funding some of the fact-finding that will be important in the outcome of this. We invite Fulton County and some of the others, like the City of Atlanta has done, to share a little bit in the school board. So hopefully with enough information, we'll have the right information necessary for the key players to support logical conclusions. But thank you for all the work being done on this, and we hope for the best outcome possible. Mr. Mayor, the Finance Committee is to be applauded for our preparation of the budget, but thanks to the staff in the interim to prepare these amendments that keep us so that we have all our accounts balanced and we can have a clean audit when that's done. I have a couple other things, Mr. Mayor. I want to applaud the Eddy at Riverview Landing. They are in the lease mode in October, so we look forward to seeing the occupancy in the Eddy of some fine new residents into our city down on the river. It's a long time coming. As you noticed, we postponed one item for the neighboring properties that Ardent controls around the Riverview Landing product. So they're bringing their additional plans and details to us next month, and I look forward to us putting those plans into place and starting to see some new residents move into those homes next year. Finally, I want to also applaud the diversity that was represented by our event here in the city and what continues to be an amazing opportunity. I had, over the last couple of years, I've had occasion to meet with the Indian American Cultural Association. They have completed their temple next to their community center, which is down on Cooper Lake Road, just off King Springs. It is now in Mr. Welch's ward, and next month I'll bring an annexation request from that group to formally be annexed into the city. So I hope we have support to do that. And with that, Mr. Mayor, I conclude my report.
Mr. Tucker, you have anything else to add?
No report tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Graham? Ms. Tina, anything? Okay. That's it? You don't have anything else?
I do.
You do?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I wanted to express condolences to our Parks and Recreation Director, Richard Garland. Richard's mother passed away on September the 1st, so please keep him and your family in your thoughts and prayers. And also I wanted to share that our Special Projects Coordinator, Maxwell Rupersberg, received a job offer today with the Georgia Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities. Maxwell will be the new director for their Office of Supportive Housing. So his last day will be on Friday, September 27th, and we wish him well.
Ms. Blackman, you got one other thing?
I do. I forgot to say this when I was thanking our Arts Council, but our youngest, I think it was our youngest artist that was out there today, was Jack Gould, and that's, Tim, that's your son. Oh, you guys, he is incredible. I think it was, what was his called?
It was Singing in the Rain.
Singing in the Rain.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
So
This is his first oil
again,
painting.
if you get an opportunity to see the artwork, please go see it. We've got some great artists, but the youngest one on the art tour is Jack Gould.
Thank you, Marilyn. They say talent skips a generation. That is the case here.
How
Does
old
not
is
be
Jack?
Singing in the Rain, no.
How old is Jack?
Jack's 13. He's in 8th grade.
It has nothing to do with you, I'll tell you that right now. It's
No, but we'll be
other-
happy when he starts selling his paintings, and we can benefit from that.
All right. The last thing I want to just mention, North Georgia State Fair, it begins Thursday, the 19th, and goes through the 29th. It's right outside Smyrna. It's a great event, so if you get a chance to stop by, please do that. No show cause hearing, citizens input. We've got several folks that have signed up for that. Charles Anderson, 1023 Windy Oaks Court. Comments, Charles?
Charles, live 1023 Windy Oaks Court down here across the railroad tracks at Williams Park. Hope I don't run out of time. We had a problem over there with my neighbor. The mother passed away and left the townhome to her adult sons, and they didn't do anything. That's 5 years ago. They sold drugs. My wife and I would sit there and watch them do drug deals out in the driveway. There was fighting, cussing. I'd go out and pick up crack pipes out of the yard and just all kinds of stuff. But they're gone now. Their house has been foreclosed on, and they're in the process of getting the stuff out of there. But I like to never got the people to come and get the stuff out of the house so the house could be exterminated. And in the process, this is about the last 6 months, I had to get rid of my sofa. I tore all the carpet out of my house. I did all my mattresses and everything else, and I've spent about $300 on bug killers. And the house is infested with bugs, and we're only separated by a wall. And I mean, it's a long story. They had a leak over there, and I had to pay a plumber $300 to come out and say the neighbors got the leak. I knew that before the Smyrna would cut the power or water off. And I'm pretty upset about it. I was going to come up here and pitch a fit probably, but I love Smyrna. I've been here since I was 10 years old. That's 60. I'm almost 70. And I'm just grateful I didn't do something stupid over there. Those people, I'm running out of patience with them. But they're gone. But the problem is that I had an opportunity to go inside that place today, and code enforcement has been in there, and they said it looked okay. And there was a small child over there about 3 months ago, a newborn baby. I had an opportunity to go in and see that place today. I wouldn't let a pig stay in there. I took pictures. It's got mold all in it, and it's just filthy. It's covered up with bugs, bed bugs, roaches, and everything else. I've just about killed my wife and I with spraying all the poison and stuff. I can't get a exterminator to come out there until they exterminate that place. I mean, and the code enforcement says they can't do anything. I mean, every time I call them, they said, well, we don't want to get involved in a civil suit. But in the meantime, I'm the one being victimized. I heard some people talk about how their neighbor's property is affecting their property. Well, I feel like I don't know what direction to go into. If I had plenty of money, I'd get me some lawyers and start suing some folks. But it's pretty frustrated. I still got 20 seconds.
You got plenty of time. You've waited. You can go.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a long history. I had my life threatened over there. And my wife, I had to go out, walk her out to the car every morning before she goes to work because you never knew who was going to be standing out there. They was renting rooms out. They was, running a boarding house, which is against the ordinance. Just all kinds of violations. And they just kept telling me, well, we can't do nothing about it. Can't do anything about it. But anyhow, I think they're getting moved out. And Maryland's tried to help me over there and stuff. But
If, once you finish your comments, if you'll meet with Ms. Jones, and we'll find out what we can and can't do, and.
I mean, it's a health hazard.
Yeah.
It really is gotten where it's a health hazard. And I thought I was gonna have to take my wife to the hospital. She said I'm having breathing problems. I think I'm joking here.
Yeah.
You know.
No, I think you've done for, I apologize for you having to wait, so if you just.
No, that's fine. Thank you, sir.
If you take a seat and then don't leave, because I want you to meet with Ms. Jones. Thank you. Alec Backery, 3459 Shawnee Trail, comments?
It's a sad scenario to see a mayoral candidate bring in politicians from Atlanta to help him with his campaign. These politicians have no idea what goes on in Smyrna, and I hope the voters see through that. Secondly, Mr. Norton, you did a mailing to the city. You failed to mention your title of your profession, which is as a lobbyist. The voters need to know that so they can vote accordingly. Thirdly, I've surveyed 341 people, asking them their views on Windy Hill and the price tag of $42 million. Not one knew about it. Surprised me. Not one. When we voted almost 4 years ago on this Windy Hill, it was a concept, not specifics. Had we known the price tag of $42 million then, that referendum would never have passed. We had a referendum on the Bronner House for $22 million. This is $42 million. The people were denied. They have a right to know how their money's being spent. And we should have had a current referendum on this. And when you see 20% or less voting in Smyrna, when we have 64% in the state, something's wrong. And I attribute it to apathy due to lack of knowledge. The mayor has to have at least a meeting every 5 months, every city, a hall meeting every 5 months to keep the people informed. That hasn't happened with you, Mayor, and I hope it happens with the new mayors. But the apathy is astounding in this city, and we need to have accountability. One thing I want to mention, that we need to know that we cannot afford to have a lobbyist as mayor. We do better having a hole in our heads. This is conflict of interest, and the people, I hope, vote in this current election. Thank you.
Haywood Savage, 498 Willowbrook Drive. His topic is comment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Mine is keeping Smyrna beautiful, looking good. Bennett Woods section and surrounding several Bennett Woods streets. We have that AJC and used to be Smyrna newspaper. Now it's changed to North Cobb or Northern. And it's a hit and a miss. Newspapers are mostly in the road, in the waterway. The city sanitation doing a great job. They where they come and pump out the drainage system, doing a great job. But somehow, if we can cut out AJC from throwing all this stuff out in the neighborhoods, and a lot of residents leave them lay and they get driven over. And when I was working and having a job delivering papers, we used to stuff them in the person that, asked for the paper to be delivered to their house. And I say, let's have this delivered to those people's houses. The rest of us shouldn't have to pick up trash weekly. And I called, and I know it falls under the marshal's department, did that, they do a good job. But the thing of it is, there's certain days you tell them not to do whatever. Well, the Constitution and the newer papers are flipping the dates. Right. So it can be weekends or during the week. And so mine is, y'all do a great job. Let's keep it clean and appreciate what you do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Haywood. Just so you'll know, I want to say we adopted an ordinance when Ann Kirk was the Keep Smyrna Beautiful director, and you can, I think I'm right now, if you register, or we'll send you the information, Haywood, but if you put a, I want to say some kind of sticker on your mailbox, they cannot leave it in your driveway. You know, I go out to get mine to put it in the recycling bin every week whenever it comes. I don't ever go through it, but
at least with our pickup days have changed.
Yep.
Our section,
Yep.
you get to throw it in the trash can that day.
Yeah. All right, Pat Burns, 10 Concord Road, Smyrna, comments.
Good evening. My name is Pat Burns. I'm a 30-plus year resident of Smyrna. Google Casper, and the first choice brings up a mattress company. Casper is as outdated as spats, spittoons, President Eisenhower, and some of the apparent values of our elected leaders. Smyrna has a comprehensive vision plan. It is not to be taken lightly. It shouldn't be betrayed by using your status with employing a power grab, treachery, and mocking. Hours and hours were spent by citizens and leaders crafting an inclusive city in the vision plan. Now it appears you approve only status quo events like Casper, St. Patrick's Day, Christmas, jonquils, but not what our Unity Task Force has suggested, be it Black History, Pride, or Hispanic recognitions. The vision plan, your vision plan, has been rubbished. Casper is a ghost relic from the 1950s, where an arrested development is stopped up. Your vote shouts the message that honoring a ghost relic that kids don't even know is more important than the residents you represent and even our Smyrna's vision plan.
Susan Wilkinson, 2805 Stone Creek Road, candidate for Ward 5.
Okay, I'd just like to introduce myself to those on television that don't know me. And I'm Susan Wilkinson. I live at 2805 Stone Creek Road in Smyrna, where I've lived for 33 years. And I've really loved living in Smyrna. I've raised my kids there, met my husband who lived in Smyrna. And I've also had the pleasure and honor to serve on the council for almost 8 years now, representing the citizens of Ward 5. And I'm running for re-election, and I would really like the opportunity to continue being a strong voice for the citizens of Ward 5 and all of Smyrna. And with that, I yield.
Marilyn Blackburn, 1034 Huntington, Smyrna, Georgia. Her topic is comments.
Thank you, Mayor. I know I put comments, but actually I'm coming before our TV just to say that I am Marilyn Blackburn, Smyrna City Council representative for Ward 3, and I too am seeking re-election. And I just want to share that I am running because I do care about the community. Although it's been 22 months, 5 days now, I don't have the hours and stuff, but it's definitely been a wonderful ride that I've had in having the opportunity to represent Ward 3. Things that I have been able to do and talk to my community about are environmental stewardship. You know, when we talk about making sure that our community, our citizens are safe with the air and the water and the soil, especially when we're talking about the whole Sterigenics issue, which I'm glad that the city is definitely on top of that. Economic development, the opportunity for us to look into diversifying our revenue sources by recruiting businesses that are going to hire locally and be environmental stewards. Transportation, definitely something that we really need to look into. We're in the 21st century, and Smyrna needs to be on the top of that train as well, to be making sure, that we have some type of transit statement here. And then safety of our citizens, that's most important, making sure that we take care of our public service personnel as well. So many other things that I'm looking forward to continuing as I work for the community and for Smyrna. And then the last is that we have to have an inclusive government. Very important. Smyrna's government, I believe, must reflect the community it serves. All voices need to be heard. Thank you.
That's the last person on citizens' input. I declare this meeting adjourned at 8:57.
First, I'm sorry you had to wait. Oh, that's okay. I didn't know. I've been here. Yeah. Enjoyed it.
Do what all we can to get that done. It's in full closure. Yeah. Well, hopefully you get a good neighbor. Let us know whenever you